All right, let's talk about stroke, but probably not in the way you're used to thinking about it. What if I told you that for years we've been looking for its cause in, well, the wrong place entirely?
So here's the big question we're tackling today. Can we actually move the needle on preventing strokes? I mean, is there a simple, wearable sentinel, something that just listens to your heart 24/7 that could warn you about hidden risks, things like AFib or sleep apnea, before they become a catastrophe? That's what we're going to explore.
Okay, let's get right to the heart of it with a statement that might just flip what you thought you knew. We've always been told stroke is a brain disease. But what if that's just wrong? The idea we're unpacking here is that a stroke isn't really a brain disease at all. It's a heart disease that just happens to end in the brain.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at where strokes really come from. Then, we'll see how the heart can actually attack the brain. We'll get into those silent risk factors, check out a new way to listen to the heart, see what that tech can do, and then, we'll talk about the future of prevention.
All right, first up, stroke's surprising origin. And yep, you guessed it, it all starts with the heart. This quote really nails it. It says that framing a stroke as a brain disease is a fundamental misinterpretation. Think about that. Most of these events, they're just the final, tragic symptom of a problem that started way, way before, in the heart and in our blood vessels.
And I love this analogy. Blaming the brain for a stroke, it's like blaming a light bulb when a power surge blows it out. I mean, you wouldn't do that, right? You'd check the wiring, the source of the power. It's the exact same idea here. The brain is where the lights go out. But the surge, that started in the heart.
Okay, so if the heart is the problem, how does it actually attack the brain? Well, it turns out there are a couple of main ways this disaster unfolds.
And this number, wow, this is huge. 87%, nearly 9 out of 10 strokes are what's called ischemic. All that means is they're caused by a blockage, a clog, something getting stuck and stopping blood flow. This is absolutely where we need to be focusing.
So let's break that down a little more. You've got two main types. The less common one is hemorrhagic. That's a bleed, a burst pipe in the brain, usually from high blood pressure. But the big one, ischemic, has two flavors. Thrombotic is a clot that forms right there in the brain. But the real troublemaker for our story is the embolic stroke. This is the traveler. It's a clot that forms somewhere else, usually the heart, breaks loose and goes on a road trip straight to the brain.
So let's actually follow one of these little assassins on its journey. Step 1. It all starts with something called atrial fibrillation, or AFib for short. The heart's not beating right, it's just kind of quivering. This lets blood just sit there and form a clot. Step 2. That clot gets launched from the heart into your circulatory system. And then step 3, it travels through your bloodstream, heading north towards the brain. And finally, step 4. It finds a narrow artery in the brain, gets stuck, and boom, blood flow is blocked.
This leads to the really important question, right? What are the red flags we should be looking for? And I don't mean the sudden, terrifying symptoms of a stroke happening. I'm talking about the clues before that, the hidden dangers, the things brewing inside our bodies that set the stage for it all. So here are the main culprits, the key cardiac precursors. You've got atherosclerosis. Think of it like plaque building up in your pipes. Then there's heart failure, which is just a weak pump. And of course, atrial fibrillation, that irregular heartbeat that's basically a little clot factory. And one you might not expect, sleep-disordered breathing. Things like sleep apnea. They put a huge strain on your heart and vessels.
And let's just focus on that AFib one for a second. This is not a small deal. Having AFib increases your risk of stroke by 3 to 5 times. That's a massive number. It makes AFib one of the single biggest risk factors out there.
But here's the truly scary part. The danger is often completely silent. This quote points out that for a huge number of people, the very first symptom they have of AFib is the stroke. They had no idea. It's called subclinical AFib. It comes and goes, you don't feel it, and it can be absolutely devastating. And that right there is why we need a better way to listen.
So, that brings us to the whole point of this, right? The solution. How in the world can we catch these silent killers before it's too late? Well, we need a whole new way to listen to the heart. And that's where something called acoustic cardiography comes in. You can think of it like a souped-up ECG monitor. It's a wearable patch that doesn't just read the heart's electrical signals. It also has a tiny microphone that listens to the physical sounds of your heart beating. All day, all night. Getting both the electrical and the acoustic data gives you a way more complete picture.
Okay, So what can this little sentinel actually uncover? Let's take a look at the data and see what it reveals about those hidden risks we've been talking about.
This is pretty amazing. The device can literally hear your heart getting older. See, it can detect this really faint sound, called an S4 sound, which is basically a sign that the heart muscle is getting a little stiff. And as you can see from the chart, the older people get, the more often the device picks up this sound. It's tracking a risk factor in real time.
And check this out. This is where you see how powerful this is. The device found a really strong link between sleep-disordered breathing, SDB, and AFIB. Look at the numbers. If you probably don't have SDB, your chance of having AFib is tiny, like 0.5%. But if you probably do have SDB, that risk shoots up to 6%. It's a 12 times increase. That's a huge connection, and this one little device can spot both problems.
So what this all points to is, well, it's a massive shift in how we think about stroke prevention. We're moving away from just reacting to a disaster and toward actually predicting it.
And this really says it all, doesn't it? On one side, you have the old way, reactive care. You wait for the stroke to happen, and then you're just dealing with the aftermath. But on the other side, you have proactive monitoring. We can actually listen to the heart 24/7, catch those first little whispers of trouble, and do something about it before the worst happens.
So, we end up right back where we started. If we think about stroke as a heart problem and we have the tech to listen for those silent warnings, then maybe that 24/7 heart monitor, that little wearable sentinel, maybe it's not just a cool idea. Maybe it's really the future of how we prevent strokes.